This is Clive Allen welcoming you to the World Orienteering Championships being held this year in northern Italy. This first race of the championships is the sprint, and we are on the waterfront in the famous and beautiful city of Venice. The sprint will have a winning time of 15 minutes and takes competitors through the maze of narrow streets and alleyways on a course which will most certainly test their route choice and route finding skills to the limit. As you can see here, partly cloudy day today, the defending champion Simone Nigli has retired, and therefore the field is wide open for a new champion in the women's final after a long regime of success for Simone Nigli. As you can see, we are surrounded by fine architecture, and we have a fine map as well for the competitors to follow. The competitors have to reach each of these points marked by circles on the map. There are 18 of them in all, but they can choose their own route between each of the control points, as we call them. And their routes will take them along all the white lines that you can see on the map. The narrow ones are little alleyways, the wide ones are quite broad highways or walkways as they are here. And the green is sort of greenery, as it is. And our finish, as you can see there, is the double circle right beside the waterfront. 18 controls in all for the women to face today, and this map is for them at 1 to 4,000, and there are 45 competitors who start at 1 minute intervals, having qualified this morning on another island not very far from here. Here we are with a camera operator showing you the kind of terrain that the runners will be finding their way through. Little alleyways, sharp corners, all sorts of things to trap the unwary. They have to read their map very, very carefully indeed, and all the time while they are sprinting through the terrain. It's hard, it requires high skills, and sometimes you can go wrong, like there, going down a dead end and having to come all the way back. And then there is the little bridges. You've got to be very careful to find the best way of crossing the canals, many of them of course in Venice. This runner now knows where he's going, through the little channels, a little look down an alleyway there, no, that wasn't the right one, this one's the right one, finding his way through the labyrinth of alleys and small walkways that make up Venice. And of course the tourists, there are plenty of them, and many orienteers, specialists as well as tourists have come down to the finish to watch the race today. Here we are in the finish arena looking at the finish run-in right down by the waterside here. You can see here that they can take different routes, for example here between 3 and 4 shown by the red and the blue lines. A distance of 390 meters in one case and 400 in the other. Here's another example from 14 to 15 where they were nearly the same distance but quite alternate routes here, 370 and 390 meters. This kind of problem faces them all along the course. Here's a third example here, 16 to 17, and we'll see this later in the programme, a decisive route choice between two competitors making all the difference on the course. Here we've got the American runner Samantha Sager starting. She is the third starter on the women's course today. She is a teacher who lives in Uppsala in Sweden, so she has optimal conditions, of course, for preparation for orienteering. She's going to pick up her map. She hasn't seen the map or the course before, and the whole area has been embargoed to her for her race, so she knows nothing of what she's got to face here. Carefully off at the start, opens the map, quick glance, which way do we go first? Round to the left, towards the first control. Samantha Sager, the one United States runner on the course today. Here's a former world champion, Hanny Alston from Australia, who also lives in Sweden. And she's been out of the sport for a little bit, but you can see she won the sprint in 2006 when it was held in Aarhus in Denmark. Here's Hanny back on the course again and running out the same way as Samantha did towards the first control. As we said, 45 competitors starting at minute intervals. Out on the course, we've got early on in the course here the Finnish runner Ben Lanimi, who is taking a new leading time at control 16 on the 18 control course, and she started about halfway through the field in the women's course today. And then Judith Wieder of Switzerland, who won the European Championship sprint in the spring. She's one of the big favourites for today's race. She's going to make a go for it, that's for sure. Judith Wieder starting off for Switzerland at the start here. And then we look here to Maja Alm, a Danish runner who also has very, very high hopes of a medal today. She's well on in the course, approaching control 16 on the course of 18 controls. And she knows exactly where she's going. As you can see, she's reading her map on the run and sprinting around the corner here. Here she comes towards the control. A few tourists who aren't taking much notice of the running, but others, as you can see here, who do. And this is a control site with a distinctive red and white marker and an electronic punch. The runners carry a punch on their finger, and they simply have to make contact with that punch on the marker post, and that records that they have been there. And of course, when they get to the finish, the record is analysed. They have to prove that they have been to all of the 18 controls on the course. Here we've got Nadia Volunska, who was second in the European Championships in Ukraine, coming in to the finish, together here with Nadia Volunska and Julia Gross of Switzerland. A very, very tight run-in to the finish between those two. And Friedrich was the leader, and Nadia Volunska takes over from her, the Ukrainian runner. She obviously wasn't entirely pleased with her run there, and you'll see at the end that with good reason, because she didn't end up in the medals, although at one stage she looked as though she might well do. Here's Judith Wieder on her way towards control 16 through some of the picturesque scenery of Venice here. And here it's quite a long run along the waterside for Judith as she comes down in a time where, as you can see from the bottom line, if she is within the next 35, 34, 33 seconds at the next control, she'll be the new leader. And this she is going to prove to be, because she's in very good time here. She's going to take the lead over from Alm, who is finishing here. You can see Maja Alm sprinting hard for the finish. She's a very good sprinter and has done very well in cross-country running in Denmark. There is Maja Alm finishing, and she takes a new leading time there, 15:45.6, which is quite close to the estimated winning time for today's race. A very good run for Maja Alm of Denmark. You can see here on the tracking that Judith Wieder is in fact faster than Alm. This is a rerun, of course, of Alm's tracking and live for Wieder. So Wieder is ahead with only 2 controls to go. So Alm, although leading at this point, isn't looking at this stage to be the final winner. Wieder is running a very, very controlled race here, and they have both taken, in fact, the same route from number 16 to 17. This was one of the examples shown, the last of the 3 examples we showed earlier in the programme, and they've both chosen the route which is in fact very slightly the shorter, to number 17 here. But Wieder is pulling out a bit of a gap. Wieder, she's a very, very good runner again, and as we said before, she's the sprint champion from the European Championships earlier this year, so she approached this race with great self-confidence. And here she is coming through towards control 17 on the tracking. Just up this small alleyway, and in on the left-hand side was the control, and Alm had caught up a little bit on her here, but not enough. And here is Judith Wieder live and approaching the finish and coming to the last control and down the finish run in. Is this going to be the new winner today? It is, because she's going to take less than these 20 seconds to get to the finish and be ahead of Maja Alm, and Judith Wieder comes in as the new leader here in at the finish at this particular stage of the 4.1 kilometre course, run in 15 minutes 32 seconds for Wieder today, and Volunska there down into 3rd place. It's hard work on these very, very hot Venice streets this afternoon. Now we've got Lena Ellison, and she's the last starter today, which means that she was the winner of one of the 3 heats in this morning's race. Lena Ellison coming through past some of these wonderful statues that exist in Venice to one of the controls out on the course. Control 16 is the next one for her, and she has 33 seconds to run over the bridge here, and then down beside the water channel that we have seen before. But you can see here that she's nearly caught up the previous runner, Emma Klinkenberg from Denmark. She started a minute behind her, but Emma Klinkenberg made a mistake early in the course and isn't going to be in the medals today. Here, coming into the finish, is Svetlana Mironova, but followed more interestingly by Tove Alexandersson from Sweden. She is one of the big stars in orienteering at the moment, and she's put her all into the finish run in there. A very, very strong orienteer, but sprint is not actually her speciality. Forest runs are her speciality. I'm sure we're going to see more of her in the race, in the wake that follows us here. But Alexandersson was just a little bit down on Wieder and took second place there ahead of Alm. But what of Eliasson? She's running here through the final part of the course now. But you can see here that on the tracking she's taking the same route as Wieder, but she's behind. She's not going to catch that sort of time up from a star like Judith Vida, and so Eliasson is going to be out of it. So Wieder is in the medals, Alexandersson is in the medals, and Maya Alm is in the medals. These are going to be the top three. Let's just follow this tracking through. It's great having this tracking because we can see from the tracking where mistakes have been made, where particularly classy route choices have been made. And here is Lena Ellison coming up the finish run in, being cheered by all the Swedes as she comes up, but you can see she's over 20 seconds too slow. She's 25 seconds down on Judith Wider's time, and it is then a victory for Judith Wieder for Switzerland in today's race. She's up there on the podium, as you can see there. She knows now that she's won. She's getting the congratulations of one of her teammates, Rachel Friedrich here. The winner, Judith Vida of Switzerland. European Championships winner and now World Champion in Sprint 2014. Congratulations from the rest of the team. So there's the final results from the women's race. Judith Vida, then Tove Alexandersson of Sweden, 11.9 seconds down. Maya Alm was in third place for Denmark, 13.6 down. Nadia Volunska of Ukraine had to settle for fourth place, Lena Ellison for fifth, and the last podium place in the prize giving will be taken by Rahel Friedrich of Switzerland. So two Swiss in the final six, two Swedes in the final six, and one Dane. The order of finishers: Switzerland, Sweden and Denmark. And here we can see some of the other results. The 12th place for Tessa Hill of Great Britain. Lizzie Ingham did well for New Zealand in 13th place there. And then we can see Hanny Elston, who we saw earlier, came in 24th place for Australia, and her teammate Rachel Effany in 27th, and Samantha Sega today was 32nd of the 45 runners, 2 minutes 40.4 seconds down on the winning time. But that's a good result actually for Samantha. I think she'll be quite pleased with that result. The one American runner to get into the women's final. And now we move over to the men. The men's final started as the women's final finished today. Again, 45 runners starting at 1 minute intervals and running through, again, this wonderful Venice scenery. The same map as the women had, but not the same course. They have a course which is slightly longer because they run a little bit faster. Their course is 4.4 kilometres compared to the women's 4.0. You can see it has a similar shape, runs along the waterfront, past the arena, goes out into this same part of the city as the women's did, but has two more controls. Control 18 now is what was control 16 in the women's, 20 controls in all, and into the finish. And again, as all the black is buildings or out of bounds areas, the green is greenery, and the white is the paths. And we pick up the race here with a Dane, Søren Bobak, starting out here. And Søren has high hopes of success this year after having a couple of seasons with quite a lot of injury. He's one of a family of three and orienteers, all in the Danish team. And right behind him, 1 minute behind him, started Mattias Cubits, a former world champion in sprint, who is fancied as one of today's favourites. Here we pick up Søren Bobak of Denmark again, and as he's coming through the middle part of the course. He's quite early in the start list. He's only 1/3 of the way down the start list, so he didn't do all that well in the qualification this morning. Probably a bit disappointed by that and determined to make progress. And Mattias Cubits, seen here, much the same for him. He also would have liked to have been further down the start list, but here he is, only 1/3 of the way down, and he's not been able to see anything of Søren Bobak yet. They went through that control more or less at the same time in terms of race time. 1.3k through the course, this control 7 we can see here, which Mattias Cubits has just punched at. You can see the difference there, just 5.7 seconds between the two. Here's Bobak again, and he's caught up 2 places because you can see runner 115 just ahead of him, and he started 2 minutes before him and now he's overtaken him. And here he is coming down towards control 18, only 2 controls from the finish. Søren Bobak's been going well all around the course, has made no significant mistakes at all to this point, and as he comes here he's going to be the new leader over Martin Hoodman, one of the other Swiss runners in the race today, and those spectators, knowledgeable spectators there, know that. He's got 33 seconds up on anybody else at this point, so a very, very good run for him. And so Søren Bobak's, here we are coming to the finish. Søren Bobak sprinting for all he's worth down the final meters of the finish to take a very, very good time for the Danish team here for Søren Bobak, 15:37.2, and he's pleased with that. You can see he likes that time. He knows he's had a good run, and we'll see what that means for him later in the race. And then we can see here another Dane, Tua Lassen. He's also going nicely. He also punched control 7 at exactly the same time as Søren Bobak. And here he comes in, Mattias Cubits, comes into the finish there, and he has not been able to catch Bobak. He's finished 15.2 seconds down on Bobak's time. So the former world champion Mattias Cubits, it's not his day today, that's for sure. He lost a bit of time, and you can see here now Tua Lassen, the other Dane, is still well up with Bobak, just a little bit slower than him. You can see him here on the course now, coming down towards the 18th control. Tua Lassen, a very experienced orienteer, Danish orienteer, who's very consistent too. He comes up with consistent results all the time, and here he is punching just 5 seconds down on Søren Bobak's time. This could be a Danish 1 and 2 today, maybe. We don't know yet, of course. We're still only halfway down through the field. But Tua Lassen, Søren Bobak, pleased with himself, sitting in the sitting in the armchair that the winner or the leaders have to sit in after the race, just behind the finish line, enjoying his drink there. Now Daniel Hoofman, the World Championship sprint winner just a few years ago. He's a former Danish winner, a world champion as well. But here's Tua Lassen coming into the finish. Is he going to be able to take the lead over Bobak? He's chasing hard for it. He's only got 1 second to go. It's not going to be Lassen's race today, but very, very close to Bobak's time. He's through in just 4.2 seconds slower than Tua Lassen. So a Danish 1 and 2 at the moment, and Mattias Cubits in 3rd place for Switzerland at this stage. Okay, what's going to happen next? Well, we've got some other nations in this race too, apart from Swiss and Danes, but Daniel Hoodman is going well. He's got a lovely easy style, Daniel Hoodman. When you watch him run, you don't appreciate how fast he's going. Here you can see they took 2 completely different routes from controls 2 to 3. And this is one of the fascinations of orienteering. You've got to choose your routes, and very often they can be very, very much the same time, whatever you choose. And you can see they had quite different ideas, Bobak and Hoofman, about how to take the race here. And very, very similar times being achieved. Now here's Yannick Michels, the very, very last from Belgium. Now where's he going here? Watch this. Watch this. Whoops. Now then, hang on a minute. Is he right? Oh no, this was the wrong alleyway. Where is he? What's going to happen now? Oh, a bit of hesitation. Yannick Michels, a bit unsure of what he's doing here. Oh, here he is. He's on his way back now. He's made a big mistake there, and now maybe down the correct alleyway. Oh dear. Yannick Michels, he had a fantastic run he's getting it right now. He had a fantastic run in the qualification race. He won his heat. He was the very last starter. But here, a third of the way through the course, he's made a mistake that's cost him over 20 seconds, and that is far too much in a race like this. Not many mistakes being made today. Here you can see it on the tracking. Look what he does here. He runs past the correct alleyway, decides that one is the right one. Oh no, maybe it was that one. Oh, now he's got the right one. But 20 seconds worth of mistake before he got going on the next race, on the next route. Here we've got an arena passage showing Yannick Michaels coming again. All the runners ran past the finish, through the big crowd watching the race here, right on the waterfront, over this bridge, and then down the other side to a control where they could have a drink. You can see a drinks point just to the left of the control. Now we've got Daniel Hoodman. You can watch his lovely style here, lovely easy style, but believe you me, he's travelling, this guy. He really is travelling, and he's looking for a win today, Daniel Hoodman, probably about the most experienced runner on the whole course today. And here he is coming to the control, and he's the new leader at control 18. He is 8 seconds faster than Hoodman, than Bobak, but he's taking a different route now. You can see he's not gone out the way all the others runs took, and you can see it here on the tracking. Bobak came down to the south. Hoodman, he's gone off to the east. He's taking the alternative, which was shown on the running on the example at the beginning of the race. And here's Daniel Hoodman finishing strongly now, and you can see it didn't work out for him. He was too slow. He's behind Bobak. It's going to be second place for Daniel Hoodman. 2 seconds down, 2.1 seconds down on Søren Bobak today. So there's the world champion, Søren Bobak. 2 seconds the difference after he was losing by 8 seconds, only 2 controls out. That was the decisive route choice from control 18 to control 19. Bobak got it right, and Hoodman, sadly for him, got it wrong. So first and third for Denmark, and he's being congratulated here by other members of the Danish team. And Maja Alm, the bronze medalist in the women's race, will come to congratulate him, I'm sure. Yes, there we are. So, oh, what success for Denmark today. 3 medals for the Danes. Maja Alm on the right, Søren Bobak, the new men's world champion, on the left, and the bronze medalist on the right. And here you can see on the left, and here you can see Bobak and Hoodman and their different routes. And Bobak's was the quicker. He got to control 19 more quickly than Hoodman. Hoodman may have had just a slightly stronger finish down the run-in, but it's Bobak's race today. Søren Bobak from Denmark, the new world champion. His best result ever, although he was also a junior world champion in long distance, shared with a Czech runner a few years ago. And he's still quite young. He's still in the early years in the senior ranks. And there you can see the results, with Jörke Lusel taking 4th place for Sweden, Mattias Cubits ending in 5th, Jonas Leandersson, the winner from the European Championships, having to take 6th place today. And then you can see a strong presence from the Swiss, the Great Britain's taking 14th and 19th. They'll be very pleased with that today. And then down we have 2 Ukrainians, 23rd and 26th. One of the Finns, Antti Antonen, not too pleased with himself, I think, there. Scott Fraser, who was the silver medalist last year, has to settle with 32nd place today. Obviously some big mistake for him today. Julian Dent of Australia, who had high hopes, ended in 37th. So those are our results for the men's race today. Celebrations for Denmark, celebrations for in particular Søren Bobak as the champagne out, and the 3 Danish medalists celebrating in full. So that is the sprint race for today. This is the first of the 5 races we're going to bring from the World Orienteering Championships here in Northern Italy. The next one is the mixed sprint relay, which is a completely new format for the World Championship.